trust within you, and during the dark times comes, you're always there with us. Amen. Call the meeting to order. Do a roll call.
Alderman Bailey.
Here.
Alderman Campbell.
Here.
Alderman Dunn.
Here.
Alderman Finley.
Here.
Alderman Gooden.
Here.
Alderman Ligon.
Here.
Alderman Mitchell.
Here.
Alderman Taylor.
Here.
Mayor Parchman.
Here.
Mr. Jim.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Get a motion to approve the minutes from the previous.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. We have a communication here from me. All for hydrants in the city has been GPSs painted and repaired. We're starting procedures on online bill paying, and we don't want a lot of discussion tonight about it, but I want you to go home and study about it. We're going to have to either pay anywhere from 2.5 to 3%. I want you to study about it and decide if you want us to pay it or pass it along to our customers. We had 2 men to resign. Randy Lindsay from maintenance. We had Shane Traylor from the water plant, and we had George Arrington that transferred to the water plant.
Not yet. He's on his way.
And I've hired a Grime boy, Grim, on an emergency basis for 90 days to help clean up this storm and get things back in order. Committee reports. I'll let Ms. Pendergrass talk a little about the budget committee.
The budget committee has met, 3 times, I believe? We have come up with a proposed balanced budget, and we hopefully will present it next month for the first reading, and then hopefully pass it the first meeting in July on second reading. And we do have a continuing budget ordinance that is worked into the budget, so the fact that it's not passed June 30th is not a problem for us. No tax increase. There is, and you'll see here in a little bit, there is a water increase. As we've discussed for the past couple of years, the state is looking pretty hard at us. So we've tried to work around and do rate increases that will have the least amount of, that will affect the people on fixed income in the least. So we did do a small rate increase, and it again will not affect the minimum bill. So we'll go over that here in a little bit. But there will be no sewer increases and no tax increases, just a water rate increase.
Any questions? My next deal is a resolution 5/1/2013, $30,000 donation to Houston County Community Hospital. I believe it was read already. We need a motion and a second.
Make a motion to approve the ordinance, the resolution, 5/1/2013 to $30,000 to Houston County Hospital.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
We don't need it on the resolution.
Okay. Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I kind of,
We want to thank you for your efforts and your contribution to the county to help Houston County Community Hospital. Thank you very much.
Brad is still up there. Well, I'm getting to one of those ages that I might need that emergency room.
we were proud it was there today.
I had a man that was carried up there today. He was cutting a tree and it fell, and they had a grapevine on it. The grapevine pulled it back, hit him in the head, knocked him out, and it fell down in his bucket. He's on his way home now. Thank goodness it didn't do a whole lot of damage on it. That man was Frank Stavely. Everybody knows Frank. The next ordinance is 581, sewer use ordinance on second reading.
The sewer use ordinance we adopted on first reading several months ago. It had to be advertised and posted for public viewing. It is very lengthy. You won't find it in your budget. It's 50, 60 pages long. It is in the office for anyone that wants to see it. We have advertised in the newspaper that it was there according to the state requirements. So we'll get it passed on second reading tonight, and we'll be back in compliance, thankfully.
Just real quick, could you summarize what that
What the sewer use ordinance?
does or means?
It regulates how we do our, Philip can tell you a little bit better. There is many words in there that I could not even pronounce, let alone know what the definition of them is. But it regulates how we operate the sewer system, how much discharge we're allowed. Are you real familiar with it, Jimmy?
No, it's coming back.
No, I don't have it back here. It's, okay.
I sort of remember.
It is, it's very, the first time I brought it up, I know there was a question asked, do we have to read this? And Mr. Stevens actually looked it up for us. and said that we could have a motion to skip the reading of it because it was so lengthy. So that's what we did, but the state requires that I advertise that it is there at the City Hall for viewing, and that's just something we had to do, which kind of helped a lot since we were not reading it in its entirety. So,
Gary, is mandated by the state and EPA in order for you to comply with your NGDES permit, the discharge and Coleman River and all of that. It's every town that has a sewer system has to have a sewer use ordinance. And you have to have it in order to apply for grants and so forth. And it had gotten out of date and you had to have a new one. That's what you're doing now. Just put a new one in place. And it didn't change much, but the verbiage changed. And that's why she did it.
so need a motion.
I'll make a motion we pass, that was ordinance 581 on second reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Would get a roll call?
Alderman Bailey?
Yes.
Campbell?
Yes.
Dunn?
Yes.
Finley?
Yes.
Gooden?
Yes.
Ligon?
Yes.
Mitchell?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Mayor Parchman?
Yes.
Mr. Jim, you don't get a vote on that one. Okay.
Our next one is ordinance 590, regulating roadblocks on second reading. You want to explain that?
Do you want me to, 590, it's been a little while, but I think we read it at the first reading. But 590, regulating roadblocks, I think we came into some issues with people having roadblocks, and there really wasn't any way that we had to regulate them, and so anyone that asked for one basically was having a roadblock, and we received numerous complaints because every weekend and sometimes through the week somebody's standing at the corners. There were concerns with traffic there on 13. The younger kids would get out in the road, the big trucks coming through. So we, with the help of MTAS, come up with an ordinance regulating roadblocks. The things that stand out in my mind, you have to 60 days turn in a request, 30 to 60 days prior to having the roadblock. You have to be 501c3 nonprofit organization. You can have one roadblock per year. What else?
That's about it.
Have to be 18 years old. That's right, and that was a big one
Citizens of
too.
Erin.
Well,
Yeah,
a resident of Houston County, I think it was.
It's only citizens
Oh.
of Erin acting on behalf of a local organization.
it's resident of city limits of here.
Okay. Okay, well, that was the highlights anyways.
And this still allows our Masonic people and Shriners to, and VFW people to still have their
Lions Club.
Lions Club to still have their roadblocks.
Mayor, both of those are national 501c.
Yeah. Can I get a motion and a second on that?
Motion.
Roll call vote.
Bailey?
Yes.
Campbell?
Yes.
Dunn? Finley?
Yes.
Gooden?
Yes.
Ligon?
Yes.
Mitchell?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Mayor Parchman?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Our next one is ordinance 591, safety on second reading. You want to?
Safety ordinance is another one of those, much like the sewer use ordinance, has to be updated I think every 5 years, we're 2 years past due for it to be updated. The state mandates with OSHA requirements for us as far as safety goes. Chief Moore is in charge of enforcing these regulations, and I believe you have that with you if you need a refresher on it. But it basically just regulates the safety for the city, for the employees.
Move to approve ordinance 591.
We have a motion, can we get a second?
Second.
Roll call vote.
Ordinance 591, safety ordinance, Alderman Bailey.
Yes.
Campbell. Dunn. Finley.
Yes.
Gooden.
Yes.
Ligon.
Yes.
Mitchell.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Mayor Parchman.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Ordinance 592 is amending the 2012 and 2013 budget on second reading.
Ordinance 592, the highlights there, of course, we did not budget $30,000 for donation, so you'll see a change there. We did some repairs on a backhoe that we had not budgeted for, and those were the general fund. There's nothing major, just from one line to another in the water and sewer funds, but the only thing we changed the bottom line would be in general. I think the fire department also we amended because they had donations that we accounted for in revenue, but I did not give them an expense for their donations. So you'll see, it looks like it's coming from the fund balance, but that's actually money that they have already raised.
Can we get a motion in a second?
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion in a second. Can I get a roll call?
Motion to pass ordinance 592, amending the 2012-2013 budget. Alderman Bailey.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Dunn.
Yes.
Finley.
Yes.
Gooden.
Yes.
Ligon.
Yes.
Mitchell.
Yes.
Taylor.
Here.
Mayor Parchman.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Our next one is ordinance 593. It's the water and sewer system that Ms. Pendergrass talked about. I'll let her explain that one to you.
Ordinance 593, setting water and sewer rates. The only changes we made there were to, there were three levels of billing, and that would be the first 2,000 gallons, over 2,000 gallons, and over 4,000 gallons. We took out the over 4,000 gallons and set the rate for over 2,000 gallons at $3.02 within the city, $4.76 per thousand over 2,000 outside the city, $3.97 per thousand over 2,000 inside commercial, and $6.88 per thousand over 2,000 outside commercial. That's the only changes in that.
Can I get a motion in a second?
Motion.
Have a motion in a second. Can I get a roll call?
Ordinance 593, setting water rates on first reading. Alderman Bailey.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Dunn. Finley.
Yes.
Gooden.
Yes.
Ligon.
Yes.
Mitchell.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Mayor Parchman.
Yes.
Motion carries.
My next thing, I see my buddy, Mr. Baggett, got here. I'd like to board permission, I'd like to back up and let him explain about the flood report and the cleanup. And also, there was some paving that we've discussed. Let him talk about that during our budget hearing this evening. We had discussed some paving, if he don't mind doing that.
Okay, we had looked at a few streets before, and got a rough guesstimate on what it's gonna cost to do those streets, what all they were gonna need. And, since the flood, I think we're probably gonna need to increase that a little bit from what we had, and talking to some of the, business owners in some of the areas there, we're probably gonna need to change the way we were gonna do the paving just a little bit. We're gonna have to do a little more grinding removal, old pavement, before we go back to the layer. If we don't, we're gonna be up, the layer of the street's gonna be high enough that it's not gonna let the water drain off, it's gonna go into the businesses there. But other than that, you know, if we could come up with a little more money to do a little more paving, it'd be great. As far as the flood damage report and stuff, of course, you know about the bridges, that the end got washed away on those. As far as I know, everything is back in a passable state. We still got quite a bit of cleanup left to do. And some of the ditch runs and creeks and stuff along the edges there, we're still trying to remove some debris. But the streets are pretty passable right at this point.
Next thing I have is ask permission to hire Brian Jackson as our full-time maintenance man, and I'd like to ask Mr. Baggett if he would explain this gentleman.
All those things that are starred.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we had, I'm not sure of the number of interviews that we had this last week for the applicants that were put in, but Mr. Jackson seemed to be a good choice out of the ones that we had. Like I said, we had several that we interviewed.
We had over 20 that we interviewed.
Right. And he's got some experience in some areas that will be helpful to us too, also other than just the maintenance and meter reading also. Any questions?
Wait before you sit down, I'm going to wear you out.
All right.
Do you want a motion on that first?
I need a motion on hiring Mr. Jackson.
Motion to hire.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion approved. We talked to y'all about having to buy a blower for a sewer plant. You want to?
Yes, sir. We've been talking about the blower really at the sewer plant for a pretty while. We got 3 blowers at the plant out there, and over the years, 2 of them have broken down. We still have one that's operational. If we lose that blower, then the plant's in pretty serious shape. It's as most of you may know, or may not, the plant is an activated sludge plant, which requires oxygen to make the bacteria to keep them alive to actually do the work in the plant. It's not a chemical plant; it's biological type plant. And I have requested some bids on some blowers, and I got three prices here. Is all that we came up with. And Continental Blower Company has a new replacement for the blower that's in there with a pedestal and everything to set it up pretty much. And we have a motor that just has been rebuilt that came out from one of the other blowers, so we can use that motor. But the lowest price of it, I think, was $19,850, which is a really good price compared to everything else that I've even heard of. Talk to Mr. Harrison, we were talking about that earlier.
We thought it was going to run as high as $40,000.
Boy, you got that at budget,
I don't,
That would be under this year's budget.
it's in this year's.
That's something that we need to get in place now, because if this one goes down, we're done.
I didn't know what you.
No, it's not in that one. It's in the current. It's in the current budget that we're working, right, it's in this current budget.
That's what I thought, yeah.
That we have enough in equipment repair.
Yeah, we don't have to take anything from the fund balance for this. There were other things that we had planned on purchasing this year for the sewer department that we are not. So the funds are there.
Motion to do what he needs done.
Motion to purchase blower from Continental for $19,850.
Pardon? Yes, ma'am.
Who seconded that?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. We've, thank you, Mr. Baggett, I'm sorry.
No problem.
As long as I've worked for the city of Erin, all we've been is a training place for Montgomery County and the other places. We got a man at the water plant that told us he's fixing to go up to work for them for more money. And we brought him in and talked to him with Jackie White and Mr. Baggett and Mr. Pendergrass. And we asked him if he could live on between $12, $24, and $13 an hour. And at that price, he can't afford to drive from here to Clarksville and make any money with what they was going to start him out at. It was, I don't remember now just what it was. But I'd like to get a motion to be able to increase his pay starting ASAP.
I make a motion that we increase William Harrell's pay to $13 an hour.
Second.
Roll call. We have a motion, the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We done.
Holy cow.
Uh,
I think we're done, almost.
We done this.
Yeah.
Get a police report. I thought somebody was taking my picture. I'd about to fuss on Mike Davis.
The Erin Police Department answered a total of 213 calls for April 2013. Issued 76 citations, 6 arrests, 3 domestics, 2 driving on suspended, 1 simple possession. We worked 7 accidents, 0 with injuries. Questions?
What can you tell us about your part of the flood? I know how many hours your people has worked.
It hit quick. We had all of our officers out working. We had one that suffered damage, so we was without him. He worked on his place and his neighborhood, and we did what we could. We had several roads, like Mr. Baggett advised, bridges washed out. It was pretty hard to try to manage with personnel, but I want to commend all my officers. Trent was on shift that night, and he got stuck up at one end and couldn't get down to the other, and they all put in a lot of hours and a lot of hard work, and it's just clean up and hard work now.
How many rescues did you have to make?
I don't know on that. I know we went down and assisted the retirement home on Substation Loop. I think Trent and the fire did a couple. I'm sure Chief Warren can advise you further on that. But we had several that was stuck in the water that we had to go out and get and bring back in.
Thank you, Chief. get a report on the fire department. And I realized too, you guys was out there.
Yeah, they put in a lot of man hours. Apologize for not being at the last meeting. You're right, the city hall. Been fortunate enough today to schedule a lunch break around this meeting. Last month, City of Marion Fire Department answered 18 calls, 2 accidents with injuries, 2 car alarm activations, 1 car fire, 1 gas leak. Of course, the major weather event, we conducted 11 water rescues within the city. Some of my guys did assist. Chief Moore and East County Fire Department, East County Sheriff's Office, and the evacuation of Oak Brook Retirement Home. We assisted setting up the Red Cross shelter on Arlington, the Church of God. It was a very, very busy event. This month we've also purchased a full set of basic extrication equipment with the funds raised from the March fish fry. So we're pretty good on that. Enhancing our capabilities within the city. Got the same set that I presented to y'all 3 or 4 months ago. $10,000, we was able to purchase those for $1,580 from Department of Florida. So we've been very fortunate with that. And this month we're going to hold another Boston Butt fundraiser. It'll be May 18th. The pickup will be here at City Hall, 6 p.m., same prices. So I'll get the word out there for us. That was it for this one.
Thank you, Chief. That's about all I have, other than, like I said earlier, I want us to keep Frank Stavely's in our prayers. If I can get a motion to adjourn, we'll talk about going on.
Make a motion to adjourn. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
I think I need to have a full agenda every month.